Hello there. I recently upgraded my RAM from, believe it or not, 6 gigabytes. Yes, I was streaming on 6 gigabytes of RAM. I'm still not sure how that even worked at all. To 16. So now, when we free-h, you can see that my total is 17. Why? Because I have a laptop and it apparently has like built-in RAM that gets added on. And you can see here now the amount of RAM that I'm currently using. You can notice that it is below 6 gigabytes, and the thing is, that's usually how it is. Usually how it is. It's usually around 4, maybe even 3 gigabytes of usage. Right now it's 5 because I have like multiple windows open. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah, so I have 12 windows open and I'm streaming and I'm still on just, at least in my opinion, just 5 gigabytes. And it's not like it was before, where maybe with all of these windows open, I would be like to the max and also using some swap. No, and it's going down for some reason. Yeah, like with all the usage, almost with all the possible usage I could have like had, it's still just 5 gigabytes, which is under what I had before. So my thought is obviously like, damn, was that kind of a waste to make that upgrade? Because I'm clearly not using much of it. The answer is no, not necessarily. But before we get to what I'm like driving towards, have a look at this widget also. It tells me the CPU usage I'm currently having, which is 20%. So there's such an amazing concept as a temp FS. It's not really a concept by itself though. Temp FS, TMPFS. Wait, what? I was pretty damn sure it was a command. I guess not. So when you write to files, you write to files on disk and you do a disk operation, as opposed to storing something in memory. The difference between that is that storing something to memory is way faster, like inconceivably faster. Or maybe conceivably, honestly. I don't know. But I do know that the difference is pretty huge. So anytime you write to a file, that's pretty big. The advantage that we get nowadays is that computers are strong enough where we don't really notice, but if you write to files really often, you still probably won't notice it, to be fair, but it is going to be whack technically, as opposed to, once again, writing to memory, writing to RAM. What if I told you that you could do both? Maybe there's a situation where you have to write to a file. It doesn't matter what the file is specifically, but maybe there's some program that has to write to a file for you to proceed with whatever script you might be building. But you don't need that file permanently, so you might as well just store it in memory. So you can create an in-memory file system. And matter of fact, it is already there if you use systemd. First of all, let me bring chat together here. Oh, I also switched to Alacrity just recently. I don't remember if I talked about that though. So this resizing behavior is pretty strange. You saw, like, I made the window bigger and it's like, all right then, and unscrolls, which is really strange. So if you use systemd, yeah, in this variable, you'll have this path or some path. Let's go to that path. Blammo, and you can see here a bunch of random stuff. So what is this path? This is actually a in-memory file system that systemd provides. I think that's what I heard. Don't necessarily believe me, but you know. And you can see here that there are some socket files for Alacrity, because you can have the same instance in multiple windows in Alacrity. Clip menu, which is my clipboard manager, which I want to change. It's pretty bad. It's like pretty damn bad. I just haven't gotten around to it. Some new Vim stuff, I'm not sure what that is. So other stuff that is supposed to be in files for one reason or another, but it doesn't have to stay that way. So, boom, blammo, we got our in-memory file system. Well, hold up now. I don't actually recommend you use this for a very simple reason. You will now never truly fully know if you overwrite something. For example, say you want to make your script write to a temporary file called bus. For whatever reason, that made the most sense, and like blammo. And then would you look at that? There's already a file called bus that something made here. Now, of course, if you're reasonable, you would have looked in this directory. But what if that file hasn't been made yet? Or what if, for a lot of time, that file name will work, but then you install some program and it writes to here and now it doesn't? It's unlikely if you make annoying enough names, but still, this is kind of a mess, right? The thing is, you don't have to use this directory. Let's go to /dev shm. No clue what this name actually means, but a mnemonic that I got to remember this part of the path is, it's like SMH, shake my head, but the opposite. So we go here and boom. No, not this. This path is made specifically for you to write temporary files to, temporary files in memory. And you can see here that I already have quite a bunch of files here. Yeah. So this directory, and consequentially all of these files, they are files. You can read them, you can write to them, you can do everything that you usually can with files. However, they're stored in RAM, meaning that file access is incredibly fast. Incredibly. So if you configure yourself into a situation where you have to write to files really often, blammo, use this. It's like way, way, way better. Now, it's not like as fast as just writing to memory, I heard, but it's way faster than writing to a file. So how do I use it? Let me show you. How would I do that? Because what I'm doing is actually kind of complicated as fuck. Okay, so let me come from like a faraway place to explain this. Awesome window manager, the window manager that I'm using, is single-threaded. It has async for calling shell commands, but still, it is single-threaded. It can only do one thing at a time. And so, look at all the widgets that I have here. That's quite a lot. And all of these widgets need to be updated. Let's go one by one. CPU, or wait, no, that's not CPU. This is RAM usage. How do we get it? From a shell command, all right? CPU, how do we get it? Shell command. Player time, also shell command. Player volume, player state, shell command. The amount of time that I have, the amount of time ago that I have ate, shell command. Mic mute state, shell command. Mic volume, shell command. Just volume, also shell command. Or rather, volume mute status, shell command. And so is this. And there are other stuff that you can't see currently here. That is a lot of shell commands to execute. And remember, if we were to execute those shell commands within Awesome Window Manager, yeah, they would be async, but they would still be single-threaded. All right. How can we do this? To make sure that the updating doesn't happen like too slowly, a reasonable conclusion to come to is, oh, let's just update all of those widgets every second. So every second we run all of these updaters. And then once again, it's single-threaded, so every single second at the same time, you're going to notice a delay because all of those shell commands are being executed at a single time. And that's kind of a lot. It's generally a lot. So what I came to instead is to execute a single updater every 0.15 seconds. So every 0.15 seconds, the next updater runs. And it comes over in a loop. It's a pretty smart decision, I would say. And it has like removed the delay somewhat, reduced it, let's say that. But the delay was still there. Because even if all of those updaters weren't running at the same time every second, well, now every 0.15 seconds I run a shell command. That's still kind of a lot. And then depending on the shell command, it may take more than a millisecond, more than 0.15 milliseconds, and believe it or not, more than a single second, or two, or even three. I only discovered this in testing, but checking the connection strength of my Wi-Fi took up to 4 seconds. And all of that on a single thread of Awesome Window Manager. No shit, I was getting delays. Like, yeah, of course. So how do I solve this? How do I solve this much pressure on Awesome Window Manager? Via multi-threading, but it doesn't have it, which is why I create my own poor woman's multi-threading by literally just running scripts separately. So all of these are scripts that I just run on their own, and all of them can run at the same time, concurrently, on their own threads, whatever they decide to actually do, wherever they decide to be. Let's come in to look at Wi-Fi. Very simple script. It just infinitely runs this command and sleeps for a second, because the update doesn't need to happen more often than once a second. And yeah, the extra benefit that we get, let me actually get chat here as well. The extra benefit that we get here is that in my one updater at a time approach, it was all 0.15 seconds. So I couldn't change the update rate per widget. It was the same exact time for all of them. But now I can. So for Wi-Fi, for example, 1 second is enough. And volume too. But RAM doesn't need to update that often. Like super precise precision, for RAM I don't really care about, so I bumped it up to 3. Same thing about the processor. Mic volume is 1. Yeah. Media time. So this widget that displays the current time in the player. Because this command takes some time to execute, I can't just say, oh, let's sleep for an entire second, because then what ends up happening is that it will offshoot. So it will usually update every second correctly and then skip a second. That's kind of annoying. So let's set it to 0.1, and now it's very consistent. And every single one is, oh, not all of them. Yeah, Bluetooth also needs to be a bit faster when I auto connect to my headphones, so that the widget like notices this quickly. And Anki should be 3, because their precision doesn't really matter that much too. So blammo, all of these widget updaters run in parallel and update the widget as often as they need to. What is widget update? Whoops, nope. Let's go to its definition and look at it. Boom. So widget update takes the actual update command, meaning all of these widgets run different shell commands to update. Like for example, for the RAM widget, what we need to run is free-h and then we do awk3, and then we take the second one and also trim the GI from the end. So for all of the widgets, it's some shell command, some concoction of different stuff. So we execute that command and get that output. The second thing that widget update takes is a file name. So in this case, it is onKey. So we take that as a file name. Boom. So it is used here. So this ends up being onKey _f. And this file, as you may notice from the path, is in virtual memory. Wait, virtual memory? Is that the correct term? I guess no. In a RAM file system, I guess. So this file will be used as a data file that will keep the output of the command. And this comes in later in how the interaction with Awesome Window Manager actually happens. So we check what's written into this data file, and if nothing is written to it, we print, I shit you not, the Amogus character. I'm using this as a sentinel value to effectively say that this command failed. Technically, what I should be doing is set previous status is echo status. This is what I should be doing, but I found this approach so funny that I think it's worth it. So, blammo, we just got what was previously in the data file, and if that file didn't exist, we got the Amogus character. You'll be hard-pressed if the output is the Amogus character. At least I would specifically make it so it isn't, because I would know. So we check. Is the output of the command different from what is stored in this data file? If they are equal, that means that, let's say, RAM widget has 5.1. Okay, first period, the first time this ever happens. We get the data, it is 5.1. All right, let's write it to the file. Second time it happens. Okay, what is it? 5.1. It hasn't changed. We don't write the file because it already has this value. And consequentially, that means that the widget has this value also. So it doesn't need to be updated. Or it is already up to date. We don't need to do anything. We're done here. But if they aren't the same, that means that there's a new value and we should update the widget. So we write that new value to the file and call the widget updater in AWM. You see here we specified onKey, which ends up being this. So this effectively, we call this. Let's go to to my AWM config, and here it is. The function that updates the widget. Now we read this file that we just wrote to, and if we could open it, then we read all of the data, we close the file. All right, the main sauce, we check if there's anything in the file, and in this specific case, for the unqueue widget, if the text isn't 0, but you can ignore that because it's not generic to all of the widgets. So if there is data in the file that we should apply to the widget, all right, let's make the widget visible so it actually appears. And let's update the text of that widget. But if there's no text in the file, then we should make the widget not visible. And that is why the unqueue widget that is supposed to be, I think, here, is currently not visible. It's not here because the data is 0 or empty. I honestly don't know, and I don't need to know, which is really nice. And you can tell because I don't have any unfinished reviews. And if I had, like maybe one, it would display that. So, to summarize all of this, there is a script that runs the shell command that gets the data that we need for the widgets to display, and it does that permanently with a sleep. So it does that on a delay. In this case, every 3 seconds that command runs. We get that new data and we compare it to the data stored in the file. If the data has changed, we overwrite the file and knock on AWM to update the widget. And to update the widget, we read the file that we just wrote to, and if there's valid data, we make the widget visible and update its text. So that's the entire kind of operation. And this is kinda like, it's somewhat whack, somewhat complicated, and it's exactly me. That is exactly how I do things, and I love that. And since doing this, I have actually noticed that there's no delay anymore. I think most of that effect is because the Wi-Fi widget that took up to 4 seconds is no longer the responsibility of AWM. That's probably the reason why there are no delays, and also the reason why there were delays in the past. But then I also moved a bunch of other widgets as well that don't really need to be in AWM. Yeah, like there's no delay anymore. It's fucking amazing. Now, of course, the fact that I'm running these scripts as separate processes, and they're like on their own, that probably increases my CPU usage a bit, but I think it's absolutely worth it. And thanks to the fact that we compare the output so that we don't write to the file unnecessarily, that's good, that's very good. But even then, we're writing to the file every time something changes, which may potentially be often. Imagine this, I'm changing my volume, I'm pressing the hotkey like a maniac, every time I press that hotkey, we write to a file. This would be kind of horrendous if we wrote to a file system file, like a disk file, I guess. It wouldn't necessarily be slow, but it would be technically worse. But because we keep it in memory, we write to memory effectively, it's like better. So yeah, I did this like, I think 2 days ago, more or less. I'm really happy with the result. It's also funny to me that all of this effort to just be using a window manager, like, that's undeniably a lot of effort to figure all of this out and then to write it. Like, how would you do this? Would you maybe have less widgets? Because yeah, for what it's worth, it's quite a ridiculous amount of widgets. But then you would likely still have the Wi-Fi widget. Like, that's a pretty obvious one. How would you update it so that it doesn't bother AWM? So yeah, this is a lot of effort, which most people will consider like too much effort, understandably. It was really fun to program that, because recently my new Vim setup has been getting like really solid, where it was incredibly enjoyable to just work on all of that, opening multiple files, creating one of them, moving them, and all of that stuff. It just was, I loved it. And for a thing that I did just now, let me show you. I write some sort of command. Sure, actually, let's make it a true command. Echo something, end. And then maybe I go up. And I realize that, oh, actually, I want to change something here. Let me give you a more real example once again. This. And now I realize that, oh, actually, I want to change these single quotes to double quotes. And it's very easy to do in Vim/NeoVim, thanks to the surround plugin that lets you just change surrounding anything into something else. So now I can press V, and that opens what I had in my command buffer in NeoVim. And you can see here we are once again using a file stored in memory because of dev shm. And matter of fact, there's also syntax highlighting here. Isn't that amazing? And now I can CS this to this. Alright, now I can close the file, and would you look at that, not only do I like come back with the quotes changed, but also my fucking cursor position is exactly where I left off. Isn't that incredible? So we can just jump around and say, okay, let's actually open this, toggle it to false, come back, and I'm there, and I'm just there. And I'm gonna explain how I did that in just a second. Hey, what's up? So, how do I do this incredible, not anymore, incredible fucking magic? Let's go to my config.fish, and here it is. Blammo! You make a hotkey. In my case, I did it, made the hotkey for V. By default, V in fish visual, in fish Vim mode, it has a selection mode. However, my reasoning for overriding that is that if I need to use visual mode in fish shell, I probably at that point want the full power of NeoVim, because like visual mode selecting something in my shell is just way too much, because it doesn't have all the features that I want for text editing, so I might as well opening it in NeoVim. Never mind, my IMEs died. What's that? What is IME? So I decided to rid myself of visual mode and just kind of force myself to go into NeoVim to edit. So for you, I still don't know what that means. For you, the command will be edit command buffer in ear monitors. Aren't those like earphones or headphones? First time I'm hearing the term. Those are earphones. No? So, yeah. This is a fish built-in that you can just use called edit command buffer. That opens your command line in your editor, and it has all of the features that I just showed you. Headphones is technically correct, but often implies over-ear headphones. Yeah, which is exactly why I say earphones. Can you stop? Oh my god. Why is this scroll bar like freaking out? Why is it freaking out again? Okay, I have a solution. I think that's hilarious. A long time ago, I wanted to make a hotkey where I could pick a color on my screen and then use Gromit MPX to use that color that I just picked. But Gromit MPX is unfortunately really shit, so there's no way to make that. No reasonable way. And if I'm saying that, the person who is willing to code everything in the most whack possible way, if I'm saying that, you know that is really fucked. I think Chrome fucked up something, because even Electron apps have scroll bar issues. Huh. Yeah, actually I noticed that on Discord. So you might ask, Well, if it's this easy for me, just like using a fish built in, why do you have a different thing here? I wonder how precise I am when I make these like calls, like where I proclaim that that is what you're thinking. I wonder how often that actually is correct. The reason for this is because I have a use case, and I always fucking have a use case. It's almost annoying. So, let me come. Well, now you're here. Like, why are you blinking? What? What do you mean? That's crazy. Are you a cursor? That's insane. That's really annoying. I hope I will just learn to ignore it. So, I use, instead of NeoVim in my terminal, I use a NeoVim client called NeoVide, and this is this window. And it is its own window. It does not run in the terminal because it gives us animations and other stuff, so it can't run in the terminal. It is its own window. And then consequentially, because it doesn't run in the terminal, the hotkeys that would otherwise be occupied by my terminal don't matter for NeoVim anymore. So even if I remap something in my terminal, I can remap that same hotkey again in NeoVim separately. And that is exactly what I did. So for example, I can pick a file and then press Alt-O, just open it in a split. I might have remapped this hotkey in my terminal to something else. Doesn't matter though. I can use this freely. And because I decided on this, and my take was the complete opposite in my stream on NeoVide, which you should check out. It's on the channel, public. Like, because I'm overriding hotkeys here, I effectively can't use NeoVim in the terminal anymore. Or at least I really don't want to, because a bunch of hotkeys, like these ones, are now overtaken and they like battle with the terminal. So if I open NeoVim in the terminal, now I'm like on a minefield where any hotkey that I press, I might be like, oh, whoops, turns out this hotkey is overridden by the terminal. And then I come back to NeoVide and that is no longer the case. So it's like an inconsistent thing, so I might as well use NeoVide always. Even in something as ridiculous as editing my command line, even in this situation, I'll kinda win if I use NeoVide regardless. So that is the reason why I redefined the edit command buffer function into my own and re-implemented the functionality in Fish. No, whoops, you got nuked. All we get here is this. Yeah, but if I like added a few more these and stuff like that, and that and whatever, and then maybe, who knows. Yeah, I don't assume this is going to be useful to anyone, because normal people will probably just deal with it and open the command line in their editor, probably meaning neovim rather than neovide. But in case you want this, then sure. This, right? Yes. Let's GHL this. Blammo. This is the most recent commit, which might as well be broken tomorrow. Like, I don't know honestly how long it's gonna last. Let's parse branch head to give you the commit at the current time, effectively meaning as it is right now. So even if I do changes in the future, the second link won't reflect them, but this will be guaranteed to work. I don't necessarily want to go over the code. It's interesting to me as a fish developer. Yes, I am a fish, but it's otherwise not very exciting to show off or to learn about, I think. Where information is optional for machine to boot. Wait, really? You say for a machine rather than like for Linux, so that's like more surprising. Or do you say that it doesn't require a file system, or what? But the key thing here is that we once again write two files that are kept in memory. One file for the actual file and another file for the cursor position, because if you notice here, or if I even showed it off, when we open this and close, the cursor stays in the same place. That is not because it's some sort of like insane fish feature. No, it is done manually with code by moving the cursor to the correct position and remembering what the correct position even was. So we get a second file to store that information. On Linux, okay. With NixOS, you only have boot and Nix. Wait, what? Do you not have, like, just slash? Do you not have that? What? That's crazy. And insane. You can only have... Yeah. Huh. That's wild. So, blah blah blah, fish code, and then we run yeah, I guess that doesn't matter yet. We effectively run neovide here, and we move the cursor to the correct line and to the correct column, and then execute this function. What is this function? Let's go to it. Oops, nope, not that. This function I defined in neovim, and creates an auto command that once we leave neovim, we write to a certain path that we specify here. There we write the cursor position, so the line that the cursor is on and the column that the cursor is on. We write that to the file with a space in between, and close the file. Not the default. The TLDR is that it makes everything boot except the Nix store, which is where the results of building stuff go. It nukes everything every boot. I see what you mean. Why though? So blammo, we execute neovide, and we call a function there that creates an auto command that once we leave writes the resulting, the end cursor position. So effectively, go edit this file, wherever your cursor was, we will remember. And then later on, we restore it. I don't know how many people are interested in this, but maybe in the future I should like go deeper in explaining how to script in fish shell. It is very specific. It's not like bash scripting that everyone is used to. It's a bit more niche because fish is a less used shell and a less available shell because bash is default, like everywhere. But fish shell is my favorite language, believe it or not. Yeah, even though I'm a Rust developer, Rust is not actually my #1 language. It's fish shell. Like, it's that fucking good. It's called impermanence. It's to make it so the current state of the machine cannot influence future sessions unless you specifically requested. Huh. Unlike bash, fish scripting won't make you go insane. Yeah, indeed. I'll tell you more. Fish shell programming is actually, like, enjoyable. Bash definitely isn't. I've seen the code before, and holy fuck. Yet, fish shell is actually, like, reasonable and kind of nice to work with. I really like it. Fish shell is one of Linux shells that you can install and use. That too, it is also an animal. So bash is the default basically everywhere. Z shell is another shell that many people use. Whenever you see like a YouTuber on YouTube, yes, believe it or not, open their terminal and they have like a very cool looking command line. Let me actually show you. Power level 10k, and let's move this or in my frying pan. That too. I actually hate like eating fish. I know it's a very like how do I say this? Too many people say this. Oh, I don't like fish. It even sounds annoying. But oftentimes, fish is just kind of worse than meat. It's just kind of more annoying to eat, which is the worst quality food can have. Which I know is like incredibly privileged of me to say. Oh well. Yeah, it's often annoying and often not worth it. Sushi is amazing, but the thing about fish is that fish, the food, I should clarify, is that it is usually not worth it, but the really good fish that is not annoying, it's really nice. It's really nice, but it's still not going to be like the default food I eat, you know? The Japanese made fish tastes good. True. They're actually sorcerers on God. So this, the default looks kind of ugly, somewhat. Yeah, this. You might have seen some YouTuber have a cool command line like this. they are probably using Z shell with power level 10k. So yeah, that's the Z shell. However, I use fish shell, which actually changes a lot of the syntax and design choices of the shell language, because it's also a language. You can write scripts in Bash, but writing scripts in Fish are going to look very different. And that is exactly why it's good. Because if you try to work with Bash as well, it wouldn't really be any difference. But because Fish makes a lot of different choices and moves away from the Bash standard, it is actually good. I randomly find you're streaming. I'm not able to understand what you're doing. Could you help me to understand? Yeah. Let's continue on in explaining whatever the fuck I was doing here in Fish. Because, yeah, the code here is kind of complicated. If you want to, like, start with Fish, looking at all of this code is kind of too much. Like, I'll recognize that. Right, so, blammo, we call neovide, make sure that the cursor starts in the correct position, and once we quit neovide, we make sure that the cursor position we were last on gets remembered, and then we restore that position in the command line buffer. But once again, you, I assume, normal person, aren't going to need this. You just say fish edit buffer and make a hotkey for this, and you can just have this really cool feature where you can edit your command in your editor. But it doesn't, well, I guess, let me clarify, it does work for neovide. However, neovide likes to complain, which makes the command line really ugly. So for example, I open it here, and then what would happen here is that it would spew an error here, and when I come back, I see this error, and it's really annoying. So that's why I wanted to, like, remove it. And the way I do that is by piping the command from neovide into dev null. Effectively, what this means is that we ignore all output of the editor. We just edit the file, but we don't care what neovide says itself. And the second thing that we're doing here is that we're changing the instance class of neovide to neomax. It doesn't matter what it is exactly, but we essentially make sure that it stands out. Because neovide is its own different window, it would usually open side by side. So in this case, it would open here, which I don't want. I want to have the experience as if I am editing my command in the same exact place. And when it opens a new window, this is just kind of whack looking. And those two reasons are why I needed to override the fish built-in function for this functionality. So we change the instance class of neovide. How do you get your cursor to move like that? Where? Here? It probably looks even worse on stream. But if you mean this is neovide. This is neovide's feature that gives you animations for moving your cursor, for scrolling, and some other stuff. TM. Where do you mean? So why do we change this window class? Because now we go to rules and make a window rule in AWM in Awesome Window Manager that if the class is NeoMax, then make sure this window is floating, and with this very specific coordinates that I'll have to change if I ever change either the height of this or how big my gaps are. So it's a very annoying way of doing it. I don't recommend it, but it makes sense for me. So I hope I'm not gonna like eat my words in the future. So what ends up happening is that we enter something, we open NeoMax. This is still NeoVod, it's just called differently, so that my window manager can catch it and apply different rules onto it. We edit the command, do something else, and blammo. I find this super nice. But to reiterate, because it's like very important, this was somewhat necessary for me, but for you it's going to be way easier. Just edit command buffer, boom, it should work like immediately, unless you're also using NeoVod and are annoyed by the error messages. Like if you want the same behavior with NeoVod as I do, first of all, I would recommend you to not do that because it's like pretty ass. But if you do want to, here you go. Now you know how. Let me once again shamelessly just show you all of my ideas for stream. I find that kind of funny. I'll just fucking show you what I want to talk about next. See? I even tell you. Stupid idea. The next thing that we're going to talk about is really fucking powerful. You might be familiar with snippets from VS Code, where you can type in some sort of trigger that expands to some text. That by itself is already amazing. But then there's also the feature of tab stops, which lets you conveniently move to the next place in the snippet. So all of this and an extra huge feature exists in NeoVim, specifically the Lua snip plugin. How do you configure it? I'll just send you the file, because it was kind of complicated and I don't remember how I did it or why. So here you go. It's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know, right? Like, but long story short, I made it work with this configuration. But then, okay, let's go. Woohoo! Let's make some snippets. Let me immediately show you some snippets that I have, so I can like visually tell you why Lua snippets are way better than VS Code snippets. I didn't expect that. I thought they would be worse, but no, they're actually like more powerful. Let's make a mapping. Map, I expand it, and now I insert something. I use my hotkey to go to the next tab stop. Let's say I want to make a hotkey for Alt D. Now, when I use my hotkey to go not forward but back, because, oh wait, not normal mode actually, but a different mode I meant. We move back, and we don't just move back to insert mode, we go back to select mode. That means that if I were to start typing now, it will replace what was currently there. And there's the same case for the second thing that I just inserted. It selects what I inserted into the second tab stop, and then if I want to, I can override it. That is amazing, because I'm pretty sure VS Code doesn't have this feature. But it's okay, because let's say I go here and I go back to normal mode. In VS Code, the tab stops would be lost. You don't have them anymore. In VS Code, if you come back to here, don't expect that your move to the next tab stop would work. It will not. But in NeoVim, it fucking does. You can freely go back to normal mode to do whatever you want to do, and then come back and expect to be able to move between these snippets still. I'll tell you more. I'm pretty sure this is the case. I hope I don't need my words. We can literally fucking go God knows where, come back, and they still fucking work. This is so huge, because it makes using these tab stops a very useful feature. Even if I go away, do whatever else I want, I am not restrained to keep myself in the same place, because when I come back, these are still available to me. That is so incredible. And that already makes snippets in NeoVim way better than in VS Code. Because goddamn, if you like go too far away in VS Code, boom, you're done. You can't go to the next thing, even if it's like really convenient. Boom. So that's like the first huge thing. The second thing is that, what if I told you that you can make snippets insert text that is computed on runtime? It just got my fucking time and inserted it. That's just not a feature in VS Code. That's not just different behavior, it's just not a feature there. That's new. It's new here. Well, I'm hoping NeoVim isn't the only fucking place that has this, because it's way too good. Emacs, I'm sure, does. Or something of that, like, ridiculous sort. But this is really cool. So, you can just make snippets that expand in text that gets calculated on runtime. And here it is, actually, one of the snippets that uses Lua code to run a shell command called date and use the format from that. It's literally this. You can look up how to use it, but I don't mean to explain how date works here, because it's not the point. You can execute any Lua code, just give you something to give you something to insert. Yeah. So, first of all, I didn't mean to do that. I super didn't mean to do that. Boom. All right. How do we make snippets? First of all, we define a table. Yeah, a table that will contain a bunch of snippets. Huh? Wait, what? That's not how it works. Contain a bunch of snippets for a language, for a single language. Then we add this table to ls.add_snippets, the name of the language, like here. A way to check it is set file type ? And here it is. It will tell you the file type of the current file. And then the table that contains these snippets. What is ls is actually require Lua snip. And then you run that. And boom. That's how you would add snippets for Lua. If you want to add snippets to all the files, you just specify all. Okay, how do we make a single snippet? First of all, we use s. What is s? S is ls snippet. First of all is the trigger, so the name of the snippet upon which it will expand. Then another table to make text, like just static text that you decided upon, like to start with. Use ls text node, and here it has its text. Because it only have a single string instead of the brackets, no, not that. Only a single string instead of the brackets, that means that it is a single line of text. If I remember correctly, you cannot just put a new line here. So how do you put a new line here? By making the string into a table instead and specifying multiple strings. One string per line. Boom. Then I, which is insert node, is a tab stop. It's an insert mode that you can jump to directionally. Well, not necessarily directionally, actually. I'm sure you can like make a hotkey to go to the third one for whatever reason. And we specify a number here. So this one will be the first place that we jump to. This will be the second place, and this will be the last place. Why is there a distinction between third and last? I'm not sure. It makes sense for VS Code, because there, if you reach the last one, all of your tab stops are gone, so it makes sense, like it's the last one. But here, even if you reach the last one, you can still go back. So I'm not sure what the difference is between third and 0th, meaning last, but you should specify 0 instead of 3 here. I haven't gotten a good reason why, but I remember understanding that I should. Oh right, the reason is that if this was 3, then this would automatically get appended to the snippet, and we don't want that. Yeah. Okay. These insert snippets can actually have text too. Some text. This text will appear at first, and when you let's do this again. Effectively, you'll have this behavior, but to start with. So honestly, what I should do here is put n. Now let's show this effectively. So I do map, and now we start with n in select mode. So what we can do now, if it's not n, is say, oh, it's actually I, and go forward to whatever I want. But yeah, if there's no text, you just move there, nothing happens. And that's how you create a single snippet. And in this table, there are as many snippets as you want. Yeah. Boom, blammo. As for the runtime generated ones, we also define a snippet with a trigger that has a table, but now it's f, which is function node, that takes a function that returns some sort of string for you to insert. Into this function are automatically passed. Wait, no, not automatically, my bad. You have to pass them yourself. So these args that you can optionally pass, what these are other nodes. Let's say you inserted something into insert node 1. You can actually pass that text to this function. What window manager is that? That is awesome window manager. Hello. So now you can use the text from insert node 1 in this function. And let me actually just give you a more real example where I do actually use it. Here, single, yeah, this is a function that gets passed a node and it returns node 1, meaning the node that we got. Pick the first thing, which is the text. And here we pass 1, meaning insert node 1. Now let's open, no, not like that. Let's open a new file. Let's make it fish and call function save. Actually, no, not yet. Let's move it here so you can see more clearly. So function save, I write something here, I move next, blammo. What happened here is that we pass 1, meaning this, to this function called single, and what this function single does is take that input and just return it. So what ends up happening here is that these two are linked. This is the master one, so once this changes, it automatically updates this one. I haven't actually tried this because I just figured this out. That is how it works. But I'm pretty sure if we change this, it changes that too. Which is just incredible. And we can, like, I think, come back, do some stuff, and it will continue to work. Continue. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ, how is it so good? I was stress testing it here, basically. I went on to another insert mode to add some text. I thought that, okay, for sure it's not gonna work that way. But no, it fucking does. That's crazy. You know what this means? This means that once I execute some sort of snippet, as long as I don't close the buffer, I think, as in, let's assume that this file actually exists, and I close the window and then come back to the buffer sometime after. Even if I do that, in theory, I could come back and it would continue to work. Just how incredible is that? It's just undeniably insane. It's lunacy. It's so good. It's not supposed to be this fucking good. Like, that's crazy. And that is why NeoVim snippets are not just better than VS Code, they're much better. They're significantly better. They honestly add like 13%, plus 13% of reasonability to switch to NeoVim from VS Code. Okay, 13% is too much actually. 3%. Because I just remembered how fucking tremendous of a Herculean task it was to switch to NeoVim. Like, Jesus Christ, oh my fucking god. It was so difficult. So, to the average person, I do not recommend switching, genuinely. Despite how much I love this, it is not worth it, usually. But for me, god damn do I love this. Because, like, now I get to have snippets that are this good. Now, to be fair, actually making these snippets is a bit more cumbersome than VS Code. Somewhat. Because, like, here, for example, if I want multiple lines, I have to wrap it in a table. In any insert node that I want, it's a separate, like, item in the table, rather than being inlined. It's a bit more annoying, but honestly, I kind of prefer this than editing JSON. Doing all of this in JSON was just kind of, ugh. Here, for some reason, it's more tolerable. I'm not sure why. Here's a pretty neat idea that I don't think I've explicitly talked about in the past. If you go look at my dot files, just updated to Plasma 6. Oh wow, you already have it? What distro do you use? So I'll have to reboot, but I pray I'll be able to come back here. Yeah, for sure, come back. Yeah, I don't think I've mentioned this before, but if you look at my dot files, you'll often see this kind of structure where, oh, NixOS, I see. Huh. See, I don't know. Even though I'm an Arch user, I would probably have Plasma 6 now, but I don't use it anymore. First of all is the, I guess, section? Sure, section kind of teller. Then a colon, a space, and then the actual commit message. So that's the more or less format. And because these section namers keep being this consistent, I just kind of kept on typing in Alacrity, all of this. It's kind of too much. I want that to be auto-completed, so I just made some snippets to do that for me. So I do this, and now I can say Alacrity, boom, I just auto-complete it. Blammo. Wow, that was surprisingly low friction, huh? Nice. Hell yeah. KDE is amazing, not gonna lie. So I have trust in them. My first text editor was NeoVim, lol. That's crazy. Dear God. How did you not give up? Genuinely, how? Or maybe... Oh wait, don't you use Neovim Chad or however it's called? Is that you? If so, that may explain it a bit, because Neovim distros, like, yeah, that, they do a lot of legwork for you, which is overall good, and I'm glad that they exist. They have a use case, and that use case is most people that want like a proper IDE experience, but they're not for me, because I'm so autistic. It's crazy. Like, I cannot handle someone making very important decisions for me. To be honest, Astro and Lazy are the ones leading the pack right now. I know, right? Like, my fucking tree opening on space DT instead of comma DT is way too important to be made for me. How dare you? It's very ridiculous, I realize. Like, these small things are often very, very big and important to me, and I just cannot handle someone making all of those decisions for me and then me effectively cleaning up after them, remaking those decisions, but now with an added context that was not defined by me and ends up being more confusing. But if I am the one that defines the entire context, it is harder, yeah, but it's more mine, and I feel more at peace once I'm done. I haven't used VS Code at all, that's why I'm still using it probably. I see. Well, if you properly configured Neovim, there's no reason to use VS Code. Kinda no reason. There are like a feature or two that are kinda neat in VS Code, but I haven't missed them. You know? I like it because I already changed a bunch of defaults too, taking mappings as the main example. I see. A better way to make my point, it's not really a point, it's just like a preference, is that a Neovim distro will set like it will set the first step. It will set the foundation of all of the hotkeys. And then moving against that foundation is going to be really rough. It's going to be a lot of friction. All of those hotkeys already made for me, and now I have to change them in every single place. And because some of them will be defaults in some plugins, some other places, whatever else, now I have to figure out how to change the hotkeys in those plugins and whatever else as well. Rather than starting with a clean slate and then drawing on it on my own, I have to like clean up after someone. And because that is very annoying to do, I'll try my best to try to adapt to the set keybinds. I won't love them as much as I would my own keybinds. So it's just kind of whack, very whack. It puts me in a position where I'll want to be subservient because it's easier, but I'll feel worse being so. You know? Does that make sense? I mean, you can just hit the switch for new default mappings, but then there's another issue. Now I have to make all of them, and at that point, why am I using a distro? You know, it's like a circle. It's like very much a circle. Oh, looks like MPV paper broke rip. MPV paper? What's that? It really worked in the first place, but now it's properly broken. It's really convenient, that's true. Like, I can see that, but I would cry at least twice if I used the distro. Because all of those decisions being made for me and feeling pressured to change all of those decisions all at once would feel too overwhelming. I'm very sure this is like an autistic thing for me. Like, it wouldn't usually be that like pressurizing and overwhelming. Most people would be like, oh, just like learn things one by one and then change them as you need to. But I wouldn't be able to perceive it that way. I would feel like I have to change everything at once, which is very, like, that's a lot. Live wallpaper type. I actually use MPV as my main video player. Blammo, some anime. And I actually intend to talk about MPV in the future. It's been in my notes for quite some time. I just haven't gotten around to it. MPV is really fucking good. At first I thought it was ass, but no, it's actually like super fucking good. MPV paper is a video focused wallpaper daemon. I see. Huh. I might look into that. Because having like a moving wallpaper would be kind of cool. Yeah. You know what's the coolest thing about all of this? Is the fact that this is just kind of on the surface in terms of Lua snippets. Like what I have discovered here, how to make insert, text, and function snippets, that's just on the surface. I haven't looked way too deeply into it. I just tried to make things work rather than using the full capabilities that I can have. So it's probably even more powerful and cool than I currently think, which is like, wow. There's also the wallpaper engine for Linux project. You could use the ones that I made. Yeah, I remember you talking about that project of yours. But I don't even know what video I would even put on. I could like take some VOD of some of my stream and just watch it permanently. That would be funny. Because I actually like enjoy my own content. Oh, not your project. Ah, you made some like engines for the project, right? Yeah, I actually enjoy the content that I make. Sometimes when I like jump into a video that maybe performs really well, I want to check it out, like, how does it look from a perspective of a viewer? I end up like enjoying the content. I'm honestly proud of what I do. But I have made WE wallpapers. What is WE wallpapers? Wallpapers for systems? The Linux wallpaper engine project is made to use WE wallpapers usables on Linux. Usable, I assume. I see. That's pretty cool. Alright. If it works on KWin, then I'm set. Wait, hold up now. Isn't there like a built-in option in KDE to use a video for your wallpaper? I'm pretty sure it is. So look into like just default KDE settings. I think you can just do it there. Because remember my friend having live wallpapers, and I don't think he used something aside from KDE to get that effect. I've never tried, because I can barely find a good enough wallpaper, much less a video wallpaper. So yeah, that might be the case, but note that wallpaper engine wallpapers are not videos, or not just videos. Are they also GIFs maybe? They're interactive? That's really cool. Holy fuck, that's really, really cool. Well, I guess it would be if I ever saw my desktop. If I ever saw my fucking wallpaper. Because it's always covered by windows because I use a tiling window manager. So I'm like, them being interactive won't be useful kinda ever. But in theory, that's really cool. I bought wallpaper engine on Windows just for that Miko one that everyone had 7 years ago. That's amazing. But yeah, the cool ones get way cooler than that. Yeah, oh actually, yeah, you make me remember that there are like interactive wallpapers on phones. That's fucking right, yeah. Damn, that's really cool. I should add that to my fucking processor usage. I'm looking at KDE wallpaper settings, so I might be able to get a plugin that will do video. The stock ones are images, or images that change but not quite video. I see. Surely you can just define your own video there though, right? I don't remember how it works. Alright, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned some stuff. Maybe about Lewis Snip, or about how to do widgets in AwesomeVM, which is its own fucking subject, unfortunately. Or whatever else we talked about today. Oh, how to edit fish buffer with NeoVide. My content is like ridiculously specific. I hope you had fun.